Yeah, just like live.
Okay, great. Hello. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sohini Ramachandran. I'm the founding director of the Data Science Institute. Welcome for those of you who have not been in our space before, and to those of you who are on Zoom. It is my great pleasure to introduce today's Data Matters seminar featuring Professor Tara Nummedal and Dr. Ashley Champagne. Tara is, neither of them needs any introduction, but I'm here to introduce. So Tara is the John Nichol Provost Professor of History and Professor of Italian Studies at Brown, as well as Faculty Director of the Center for Digital Scholarship. She's a historian of science and of early modern Europe, whose work has received many, many awards. But one I want to highlight is the 2022 Roy Rosenzweig Prize for Creativity in Digital History for a volume she co-edited. Ashley is the director of the Center for Digital Scholarship and strategizes and coordinates the library's digital scholarship offerings, along with a really excellent team of coworkers in the libraries. She is a leader of multiple grants and large-scale research projects in the university. And I'm lucky to know firsthand the pleasure of collaborating with her from a paper we have together with multiple former DSI postdocs and colleagues at the library and in applied math, which was a runner-up for the best paper at the 2022 ACM Web Science Conference. Research engaging with AI is reviving old socio-technical conversations and critiques and revealing new opportunities and challenges for all disciplines. And I think a desire to work at this intersection really reunites the scholars who are in DSI, as well as scholars across the university. So it's really exciting for us today in this seminar series to get to hear more about AI and humanities research from you both. So welcome.
So Ashley and I are both going to speak, so we're sort of going to go back and forth, but I will start, and I'll start with a thank you for the introduction and for hosting us here. I'm here in, Ashley and I both kind of co-direct the Center for Digital Scholarship in various ways. And it's in that context that we have been thinking deeply about AI and other forms of digital scholarship. So I wanted to start with just saying a little bit about what we do in the Center for Digital Scholarship, and then we'll have some kind of more concrete examples. And what I want to say here first, at the outset, is that digital humanities or digital scholarship is a place where, we both ask questions, humanities questions, with computational tools, often digital tools and methods. And we also ask questions about those kind of computational tools and methods. So for us, it's always these two things hand in hand. It's the doing of research with digital tools and methods, but then also that critical DH perspective where we try to also reflect on what kinds of knowledge these tools and methods are producing and, what the possibilities are, but also potentially what the problems are. And so we just wanted to highlight some examples of scholarship that might intersect in particular with data science, because a lot of this work also, data is sort of at the heart of what we do in the Center for Digital Scholarship. And, we engage with that through critical data studies as well. And we bring this into the AI conversation. And so a lot of these works really center questions of power and hierarchies of power and the ways in which that intersects with data. So this computational humanities book, which is just out this fall in the lower left there, edited by Jessica Marie Johnson, David Mimno, and Lauren Tilton, is really, as they put it, about power, prestige, and precarity as much as it is about p-values. There's also data feminism, which asks questions about how data science reinforces power hierarchies and brings feminist analytic lens to this. Queer data studies, similarly, they ask what would a queer approach to data look like? How can data be harnessed in the service of queer ethics? And Black digital humanities, and we have our own Kim Gallen right here and right here in the flesh as well, who similarly, asks questions about not just in this article, but in so much of what she's working on about, how these technologies kind of intersect with racializing systems, and also how these digital tools can be a technology of recovery as well. I just wanted to give kind of one slightly more detailed example around Indigenous digital humanities, because I think it's a good example of the way in which DH kind of intersects with the work that, goes on in spaces like the DSI. And again, Indigenous DH, there are a lot of different, I think of them as sort of flavors of DH that bring these analytic lenses from other studies programs and other scholarly traditions into conversation with digital tools and methods. In the case of Indigenous DH, there's a effort to kind of center Indigenous epistemologies and ontologies in discussions of these technologies. And this article in particular, I find incredibly interesting, focusing on the idea of Indigenous protocols. Indigenous protocols are, you might think of them as kind of manners for engaging respectfully and effectively with Indigenous communities. And there's no one set of manners, but these are, things to know. And so some Indigenous scholars took up this question of how do we want to engage with AI and bring it into our communities in a way that feels appropriate, with the sort of values in Indigenous communities and practices. And just to offer two examples, they came up with 7 kind of protocols for thinking about AI. And one of them is to develop governance guidelines from Indigenous protocols, that sort of guide the use of roles and rights in AIs in society, but from an Indigenous perspective. And in another one, they really want to center questions of data sovereignty, which has been historically a very sensitive issue for Indigenous communities. And they want to assert that Indigenous communities have to control how their data is solicited and collected and analyzed, and that they get to decide when to protect it, when to share it, and so on. And that AI systems should be designed to really respect and support data sovereignty. So I think this kind of Indigenous DH scholarship, which is growing, small and growing, offers some really important resources for thinking specifically about data sovereignty. And there's some good examples of that. So I offered these just as some of the examples of the critical traditions that guide our work in the Center for Digital Scholarship around particular projects. And just to say that our work there always straddles both the practice, the kind of doing of DH, and Ashley will talk in much more detail about some of the projects that we have going in the Center for Digital Scholarship, but it is always also in conversation with that critical engagement as well. And so our engagement with AI comes out of this and builds on this foundation that we have for digital scholarship more broadly. So I will turn it over to Ashley now to talk to you in more detail.
Great, thanks, Tara. Hello, everybody. Yeah, so as Tara was saying, digital humanities, it's not separating technology from disciplinary practice. It's saying you actually can't do that. The technology informs the actual research questions you're going to ask. And so that's the work we are always doing at the Center for Digital Scholarship. Our mission is really to work with researchers of all levels on a project that they're bringing that fits within the realm of digital scholarship. So this may be a historian who has a project idea but doesn't have any expertise within computational methodologies or things like that, that we can then bring to the project. And so then I'll work to form a project team and make that idea a reality. So this is also the Digital Scholarship Lab in the ROC. So that's where we often meet for events. So I'll give 2 examples of how we're using AI right now, but we're doing a lot of thinking around the area, and these are just 2 kind of experiments we're running with. So the first project, which also I think gives an example of how we're talking about the use of technology, but also really the critical digital humanities perspective, is the Stolen Relations Project. So this is a community-based collaborative project that's working with about a dozen or so tribal nations in the area to build as comprehensive a database as we can of archival materials that cite an enslaved Indigenous person. And so we have thousands of records like this, and we have a site that we are very, very close to actually launching. We've said that a lot, but this is really just around the corner now. And so together we really bring the work we're doing from the technical standpoint, but we work with these tribal nations across the area to really see what they need and to respond. So to do that work, we're, gathering the data. This is one example of an archival document that that we have thousands of. This is about a man named Moses Williams. So we'll gather this data, we'll extract part of it. We determined there were certain categories we wanted to discover the material by. So you'll see, date, location, things like age. And then we'll transcribe the whole document to be able to find the records. But the question we've always been coming back to on the project is how we work with problematic source materials that seek to erase, abstract, and dehumanize. There's a lot of work that's been done, like Jessica Marie Johnson in Unmarked Bodies, who is writing about how if you're just representing the colonial documents, you're really just doing more harm because you're just giving them more voice in a way. And so we wanted to recontextualize that information in our presentation, and we wanted to humanize that data. And so, when we look at the tabular data, which is what we, essentially can extract, one, way we've tried to humanize this data is by producing a biographical narrative. So this is Patrick Rashley created essentially the code that takes this tabular information and puts it over here in a narrative format. We have a database, everything from the way that the records appear is really focused around the concept of humanizing the data. So here you see cards view, and this was inspired by kind of social media, because we're used to looking at social media profiles and not necessarily seeing the whole person, but in most cases knowing it's connected to a person. And so that's the kind of design here. When we created a map of this, of all these different records, we worked with our community partners on this to really think about how they want the map to appear, because a map is an argument. So do we want borders or not? They really didn't want the borders. We were unfortunately limited by the technology. We're using leaflet, and the simplest base map we could find still had some borders. So we instead took the approach of, let's really make some content around the history of the borders, and so that we're not just representing borders. We made all kinds of decisions here about, how do we wrestle with historical locations in the archival material? Do we map them to contemporary? What if we can't? So we did decide to map to contemporary, but also preserve the original. So we're always making these kind of critical decisions along the way. We never would just create a map. We're always kind of thinking along these ways, and often working with our community partners. And then, a couple years ago, with when ChatGPT was 3.5 was released, we really started to think about how AI might impact this project. One of the things we heard over and over when we were presenting the material was that students noticed that these documents have so much information about clothing. And that was really interesting. And they were like, I would love to do a kind of more work on why that is, or what that means. And we were thinking, well, maybe we could use AI to do that information. So I won't show you this, but you can link to essentially a pretty long experiment where you can follow along and work with the actual archival materials from the Stolen Relations Project and run it through a variety of different generative AI tools. But I'll just show you a few examples that we worked with. And this is our critical AI learning community. We meet Mondays at noon. There's Patrick Rashley, he's leading this session and working people through how to try to take all of these archival documents and create structured data or experiments with them. So the experiment kind of goes through, like, let's take all these archival materials, let's see what AI can do with it. And this is Llama, and it's not, very good. It's not trained, and obviously we know we could train it more and it could be more exact, but you'll see here, like, it just in the race column that it creates, everything is indigenous. And we know, of course, that's not true of our archival documents. Actually, the enslaver is very, very important. Enslavers are a big part of the database, and they're an important part because they often connect others. So a lot of our community partners were like, we need the enslaver because that's how we're going to be able to find the actual stolen relations. So that was interesting. Claude, again, the race is just for some reason always Native American, and we were looking at outputs there. But interestingly, in both these examples, they really get the clothing right. Like that's a very easy thing to extract. So there's some information that's really, really difficult. And our ontology is very complicated as well. So it makes sense that it's not getting a lot of things right, but the clothing is very easy to get right, it seems. Gemini is really interesting. They actually have this kind of like context, which is what we're doing on the project. We have what we're calling a decolonizing context on every document, because again, we don't want to reproduce the problematic material. So, this has this context. It's important to remember the documents reflect. And it also gets a lot of the information correct. As well as the clothing. So, I mean, things that we're excited about on this project, I mean, one is identifying clothing just seems like a really big possibility now. We've been working on this project for almost a decade, and so doing all that work the way we usually do it would be impossible almost. Another thing is like identifying names. So if you find names in the document, you often find hardly any information about the people. But then if you can look at it at scale, AI is pretty good at finding actually a lot of information about different people. And it's not always right, but then a researcher can go in and look through that information. So that's great for like actually humanizing the data to actually tell the stories. And then we've also been using it for data consistency review because we have 40 different RAs doing this kind of work. And, invariably they make mistakes, and being able to see what mistakes are there and have an AI actually do that analysis is really helpful. There's other things that are just like not working well. Like, so one is we very, consciously made the decision to include whiteness in the database, even though that's not included in the archival document, almost never. But then, one of our students noted like, well, where is whiteness in this database? And it's all over because we have tons and tons of enslavers. They're not all white, but many are. So we've, consciously put that in, but that's not something, of course, AI can't read something that's not there. And the other thing we're very, very cognizant of is like mistakes have such large implications for the community that we're working with. And so we don't want to, start using AI on categories that are really not seemingly working well. Just give one more example. I'm the PI of the new frameworks to preserve and publish born computational art project. This is coming out really soon as well. We are developing different models to preserve born computational work on the campus. Brown is this huge pioneer in digital electronic art here. And I'm working with John Cayley on this. Usually when you think of preserving art with AI, there's a lot of reports of all the harm it causes. Like it's trained on people's arts. It's not compensating the artist. There's a lot of harm that AI does. In one of our models, we tried to use AI to actually preserve the work. So this is Dave Johnson's rewrites material. It's composed of a variety of different multimodal works, including 13 volumes of books, which is in the John Hay Library. There's thousands of poems, and there's lots of data, and it's all created with a human and an AI working together. So he does this thing called carving. Just show you briefly. So what he's doing is the AI is essentially, created the poem, but then he's going in and reworking the poem himself. And he does this live, he does it at events, he invites volunteers. And so then that's ultimately what becomes, that's what's written in the 12 volumes is the human and AI combination of carving poetry. So for our preservation challenge, like we knew how to preserve the physical volumes. Libraries are really good at that. The code was really, really hard because it was deprecated and it wasn't going to work, and we could get it to work, but then it was going to break again. And so what we decided to do instead was to train in AI based on the 13 volumes, which is huge, a huge amount of text. And so instead of using PyTorch, which is what JF uses, we use GPT-2 on those volumes of poetry. And it produces poetry, much like what Jave was doing. And here's, his PyTorch model, and here's our GPT-2 model, which Cody Carvel on our team worked on. And Jave was thrilled with this. He was like, this is great, because it's not only like we produce this in GPT-2, but also we could, we're basically writing a model that people in the future, no matter where AI goes, could essentially recreate. This is a volunteer session, so I won't make you a volunteer. But when I recently presented, we had a volunteer, John Cayley, did that. So I'll turn it over to Tara.
Excellent. So those are a couple of the bigger projects that CDS has been engaged with over the last, decade in the case of stolen relations. And when did new frameworks? I mean, that's okay. Yeah. So those are examples of some specific projects, but we also in CDS are interested in hosting kind of smaller scale and more low bar of entry experiments in research with AI. And so we host a lot of events in CDS. We have a DH salon every other Thursday. We have one this week. If you want to come at noon in the rock, in that glass space that Ashley showed. And we've also participated in the critical AI learning community that Ashley mentioned. And, we've tried to find other ways to work with humanities scholars at Brown who want to engage with digital tools and methods, and who are trying to think about how we might use AI in our research and how we should use it. Should we use it? How we're going to use it if we are going to use it? What are the implications? Those same sorts of critical questions that we've been doing in general with digital humanities, we're trying to create space in the CDS for thinking about those things with AI as well. So Steve, who's in the back there, I'm sorry, I'm using you as an example from last March. Steve did AI everything for a month. He went all in and immersed himself, and then gave a talk in our AI and Humanities research group, which is now part of the critical AI learning community. And tried them all out and tried doing historian things with these different AIs, and gave an amazing kind of, and very, very open-minded is what I appreciated about it, that you were just like, I'm just going to go for it, and reported back on what it could do, where it failed. There were some surprising answers and some really interesting reflections. And that was a kind of, really useful event for us to have someone who could take the time to kind of do that and report back on what it's like to do history with this. We also, in one of our DH salons recently, hosted Josh Babcock, whose name is, down at the bottom there, who's in the anthropology department here. And he's working on a project on a place called Singapore, Michigan, which is a disappeared town, and that does not have much of an archival trace. And everyone is obsessed with figuring out what happened in this town. And it's not an answerable question. And so he, thinking with the tradition, the kind of critical tradition of critical fabulation, Saidiya Hartman, he thought, what if I asked ChatGPT and talked with ChatGPT about what happened in this town? So he tried this out, and again, spoke about his research and some of his reflections about this in our DH Salon recently. So those are a couple of examples. There also, there are so many of us who are encountering this in our research. So I'm just going to throw this one out there as well. One of the things about historians is we read old documents in difficult to read handwriting and other languages. And, there are these tools now. Transcribus is a European one that has trained models on these archival documents and that can do transcriptions of them. This is something that I'm very curious about. Some of our graduate students in history, this is one of the real barriers to doing historical research when you start out. It took me quite a while to read documents like that one on the left. Maybe You know, can these tools help us just read them? The answer is kind of, because this is not a great transcription. And the only reason that this worked for me is because I could go back in and correct it because I actually can read the handwriting. And then it's the question of like, is this useful? And it's not the best. It's not very efficient, actually. And it also costs money. There are some new tools now, which I don't know. Did Mark Humphreys talk about this? There's a new one called Transcription Pearl or Archive Pearl. So there was an event on Monday. I don't know if that one seems more promising, but it's meant to be better than this Transcribus. And you know, this is kind of the sort of project that we can think about in CDS is kind of, do we care if if scholars like, do I really want to hold on to this? You're not a good historian unless you can do that hard work of reading that handwriting. Do we care? What is the skill that we value in a PhD program in history or for scholars in history? And where are we willing to say, hey, if there's a better way, like, please, let's do it, that can help us. So these are some of the kinds of explorations that we've been trying to host in CDS and make space for, again, drawing on our own expertise there. And I should just emphasize that there are a lot of us in CDS. It's a very collaborative environment and the kind of space where, scholars can kind of go in with a proposal and then find the right people to think with about these kinds of projects. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ashley to talk about a few more of them.
Yeah, so one of the things we started to do just structurally to give space to these experiments is to have a mini project every term where we are working with a faculty member at Brown to experiment with AI in their research in some way. So we started this last term with John Cayley on that new frameworks project that I shared earlier. This term, we're working with Michael Satlow from Religious Studies, who has a project with us that we also work on inscriptions of Israel and Palestine. And he has a variety of different inscriptions that take an enormous amount of time to transcribe and put into structured data. And so he wanted to just experiment on what would it be like if I used AI instead. And we happened at the time to also have a student reach out to us and was really interested in working on projects with us. And so this is just an initial experiment. The term is not yet over, but this is what they sent me as where they've gotten so far, which is basically like, you need a human to be a researcher to be checking each step along the way to see the accuracy. So right now they're, uploading the PDF. There's AI passes it into paragraphs. The RA, reviews that. AI parses it. So there's this constant intersection between the AI doing a specific task, the human then checking. And so they're trying this out. This is a huge project with tons of students on it. So getting a workflow that works well is really important. So that's one experiment where, have lots of ideas for potentially next term to take on. But right now we're on inscriptions. That's it. Yeah. So thank you.
So in Data Matters, for those of you